What it do, YouTube? I am your boy, Tony Vogue, the E-Boy Zombie Slayer, just hunkering down for an Ontario snowstorm, an ice storm. Probably gonna leave a lot of people without power and internet. But for now, we got a solid queue lined up. Gonna queue some more videos, and I've always wondered, why the fuck are there so many ghosts in Japan? We about to find out. Inquiring minds wanted to know. Inquiring minds shall know. So we're learning today about Japanese ghosts and spirits.
Around the world, the dead are very relevant. From reincarnation in Hinduism to mummification in Old Egypt.
That's
you
the
can
truth.
find a lot of different traditions all over the globe. And of course, Japan is not an exception with that.
Yeah, Japan be wildin'.
In this country, death is almost as important as life itself. Today we will talk about ghosts and
That's with a lot of
spirits in
cultures.
Japan. Welcome to the Glimp. When a person dies,
I literally
the soul
thought
of
this channel was
person
called The
travels to
Gimp,
land of the
but we
dead,
were gonna ignore
also
that.
known as the Yama-no-Kuni, the Shinto afterlife, or the Anoyo, the pure land of the Buddhists. But before getting there, the soul most of the times faces some serious obstacles, and this road can be quite difficult at times. Some things are too tough to overcome.
In this life, hydrate.
This is where a spirit gets trapped and turns into a yurei, a Japanese ghost. The word yurei comes from the kanji yu, which means dark, and rei, which means soul. These souls, trapped in some sort of purgatory between life and death, play a great role in the world of storytelling in Japan. According to Shinto tradition, we all have a god within us, similar to what we know as a soul. When we die, this soul frees itself from our body. The soul has to reach the afterlife, but this can be a demanding task. This is why when a loved one dies in Japan, the living relatives must watch over the deceased, to help them and accompany them in their journey by doing rituals. Once they have overcome all these obstacles, they will finally enter the afterlife and will look over and protect their living relatives from misfortune. Sometimes when people die of an unnatural cause,
This is
left
fascinating.
some issues unresolved, or even when they did not have a well-performed funeral ritual, the spirit...
I love anthropology. Even more so, I love thanatology.
It's stuck between life and death, and becomes a yurei. These spirits won't rest until they have solved their mortal and earthly problems. A lot of Japanese horror movies are based on this concept.
Okay.
Most of the times these spirits have a very human-like shape, but they are floating in the air without feet. In
That's
addition,
creepy, bro.
they usually have long black hair and wear a kimono, often in white, that was used during their funeral rituals.
Okay.
Sometimes
Well, that
they are
explains all the
deformed
ghost
as they
girls
take
in
on the
white.
appearance they had before they passed. There are multiple types of yurei, classified according to their earthly suffering.
Ah, okay.
One of these types of yurei is called the onryo. These are vengeful ghosts who died having resentment to a person or obstacle they faced in life. They search for revenge and usually turn against everybody or everything. Also
God
to
damn.
people who have nothing to do with the problems the onryo faced while still alive. Most of the onryo in Japanese folklore are females that want to revenge their ex-partners for cheating on them. In the original stories it
that
doesn't
typical?
describe how these onryos looked like. But once these spirits became popular in kabuki, a traditional form of theater originating from the Edo period in Japan, these onryos were usually depicted with long black hair and a white kimono, but also with white and blue indigo makeup. The earliest onryo cult that developed was around Prince Nadia, who died in 729. And the first record of possession by one of these spirits was found in the Chronicle Shokun Nihon in 797, which states that Fujiwara Hiratsugo's soul harmed Genbwa, a Japanese scholar monk and bureaucrat of the imperial court,
damn.
for failing to remove him from power. Traditionally in Japan, onryo were thought to be capable of causing death and harm. But they were also
This is
capable
all
of
research for
natural disasters
phasmophobia.
such as fires, storms, earthquakes, and pestilence.
That's a lot of ghosts.
Another type of these uriais is the Kozodata uriai or Abuma, the spirit of a mother who passed away during childbirth and returned to Earth to take care
you
of
don't
her
want to
child.
mess with those.
Like the other uriai, these ghosts appear as faint images of their former selves. They are also often seen with their white burial kimono or sometimes the clothes they wore in their lifetime. However, these uriai often appear less horrific, sometimes even slightly loving, when compared to, for instance, the Onryo uriai. They appear to travelers on the road at night, or shopkeepers that are alone doing their duties.
Gotcha.
They often return to the same place over and over again. These ghosts have only one goal,
They're kind of
to
sweet.
see the well-being of their child in the land of the living. They do this by, for instance, buying goods such as candy or toys for their children. Of course, they have no money, so they pay with whatever they can, for instance, dead leaves. They seek out living people and try to lead these people back to the location of their child. Once the child is taken care of, the Kozodata uriai can finally enter the afterlife and will stop appearing.
That's kind of
every
sweet.
night.
I bet they ain't scary. I bet they
Funeuriai.
sweet.
Another one of these uriai ghosts is the Funeuriai. Funeuriai are the ghosts of people that died at sea. Usually sailors who remain in this world searching for former shipmates with the intention of drowning them into the ocean. Like the other uriai, they also appear as dead bodies wearing a white funeral kimono.
Except
These
on a boat.
ghosts are seen at night during full moons or stormy and foggy nights. Usually they appear as a glowing misty entity that forms into a ship with a ghostly crew as it approaches. These ships charge into other boats, causing them to capsize and sometimes sink.
So it's like a ghost ship.
The Funeuriai carry hishaku, which are buckets on a stick, and use these buckets to fill the ships of the living with water in an attempt to sink them.
Shit, that's...
To protect themselves from these spirits, people carry buckets with holes to give to the ghosts, which then stops them sinking their ship. To avoid these ships, boats should sail through the mist instead of turning around and trying to escape from it. Another method is to throw food overboard as an offering and in the hopes that you will distract them long enough so you can get away. Omibozu.
Canada.
Funeuriai sometimes get confused with Omibozu, giant mysterious sea monks. They are usually spotted in the sea, ocean, and bays. The Omibozu appears on calm nights, where there is no sign of anything out of the ordinary. They appear all of a sudden, without any warnings.
There's a lot of sea monsters,
instantly
man.
turn into a furious
Y'all know
condition,
me and my
from the tumult
Lovecraftian
rises a huge titanic
horror.
creature. Its true form is unknown, as it is only ever seen from the shoulders up. They appear to be human-like in shape, with an inky black skin and large round eyes. Some say that these creatures are more like a serpentine, while others make them out to be more ghost-like, like an enormous kind of Funeuriai. In the same way as the Funeuriai, they will demand a
That's the
broken
Japanese
bucket or a barrel
Cthulhu
from
right
the
there.
crew. Some people say that the Omibozu are the ghosts of drowned priests, cast into sea by villagers. These priests have transformed into ghosts due to the cruel nature of their death, making them cousins of the similarly dreaded Funeuriai. Other people say that Omibozu are sea monsters that live deep in the Seto Inland Sea. Because sightings of these entities are rare and almost always fatal,
It's definitely
it is difficult
Cthulhu.
to find out the true nature and origin of this spirit, and thus, will remain a mystery for a long time. Jiba Kuriai. Some ghosts are aware of the situation they reside in, and you can dialogue with them. Sometimes you can even help them solve their problem to help them to the afterlife. But there are also the Jibakuriai, ghosts that are tied to a specific place, usually the place where their death occurred, which usually is suicide.
Oh shit.
These ghosts carry a curse and are the most
I don't wanna
fearsome
fuck
of
around
all.
with no Jibakuri.
They haunt the people around them.
Yeah.
They often induce insomnia or sleep paralysis on their victims, and
We
the
ain't
only
about
way
that.
to cure these symptoms is by staying away or leaving the place completely.
Yo, I can't sleep. Anyway, we good.
Sashiki Warashi. Sashiki Warashi
Tzatziki
are the
sauce?
ghosts of kids.
No.
With blushing red faces, the boys wearing child-sized warrior costumes, and the girls wearing patterned kimonos, with hair that is either short and bobbed or long and tied back. It is said that only children and the owners of the house are able to see these spirits.
That's
They
creepy,
usually like
bro.
to prank the residents. Often the first signs that a house may be haunted by these ghosts is by a trail of children's footprints going through ashes or soap powder. Other signs include phantom noises in the house. These noises are usually children's games, paper crinkling, children's voices, or Kagura Shinto holy music, a form of music that is dedicated to the Shinto gods. Most
Who
people
the
love these
Shinto
spirits as
gods?
they are believed to bring great fortune and riches to those whose houses they haunt. But when they leave, you may have a problem. In one example, a family witnessed a Zashiki Warashi leaving their home, and soon they all died from food poisoning. In another example, a wealthy man's son shot a Zashiki Warashi with a bow and arrow, and soon after that, the family's fortune collapsed.
Damn.
Direct sightings of these spirits are rare, but there actually have been camera recordings of these spirits. We can't
Yo,
know for sure
what
if these videos are
the
real, as
Bombarasta?
nowadays it is easy to manipulate videos, but still, the images are an interesting sight.
Yo. Blood. That's a ghost. That's a ghost kid.
Gaki. Unlike the other ghosts mentioned earlier, Gaki are ghosts specific to Buddhism. Gaki are ghosts which are constantly suffering and live in pain and torment. They appear human-like, but they have bulging bellies and tiny inefficient mouths. They are said to live in a parallel realm called Gakido, a barren place full of deserts, wasteland, and inhospitable terrain.
So like Japanese
These
hell.
spirits are eternally hungry and thirsty. They suffer in different ways. The sins they committed in a past life now haunt them for eternity. Some of them can't eat or drink anything at all. Some try to eat the food, but when it enters their mouth it instantly bursts into flames and vanishes. Others are only able to eat unclean things, such as feces, vomit, corpses, and so on.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Some of them can eat anything they please. However, it doesn't matter how much they eat. They will never be satisfied, and even after hours of eating, they
like a
still
Wendigo.
won't be satisfied. In some Buddhist traditions, a ceremony called Sagaki
That's
is
literally
performed
a
to
Buddhist
help ease
Wendigo.
the suffering of these Gakis. Rice and water are placed on special altars, out of sight of statues of the gods or Buddha. The Gaki then are called to
Damn.
come and have dinner, while the Buddhists pray to ease some of their suffering. Nowadays,
Buddhist
the word
Wendigos.
Gaki is used as a curse word for children. This comes from the idea that some children always want more food and that they are never satisfied with what they get.
Buddhist?
Shinto
Wendigos.
spirits. Not all ghosts or spirits
Interesting.
are bad, haunting your house or leaving a curse. Actually, there are more good spirits than the bad ones. These spirits are called Shinto spirits. Shinto, also known as the Way of the Gods, is the indigenous faith of the Japanese people and is as old as Japan itself. Besides Buddhism, this is the main religion in Japan. Unlike other religions, Shinto does not have a founder, nor does it have sacred scriptures like the Bible or Quran. Propaganda and preaching also aren't common things to do in Shinto, as it is deeply rooted in the traditions and people themselves.
That's pretty cool.
Shinto gods are called kami, sacred spirits which take the form
I'm
of
gonna look
things
into
and
Shinto.
concepts important to life, such
Got an
as wind,
interest. I'm not really a
rain,
religious
mountains,
person.
trees, rivers, and fertility.
Fire.
When humans die, they can become kami. The kami of extraordinary people sometimes are even enshrined at some shrines. The sun goddess Amaterasu is considered Shinto's most important kami. Unlike a lot of monotheistic religions, Shinto doesn't have a right and wrong. Nobody is perfect. It is an optimistic faith, as humans are thought to be fundamentalistic.
That's kind of like Thelema.
And evil is believed to be caused by evil spirits. The purpose of most Shinto rituals is to keep away these evil spirits by purification, prayer, and different types of offerings to the kami. Shinto shrines are places of worship, but also serve as the houses for the kami. In these places the dead live together with the living, as usually in these places a Shinto priest is residing.
Cool.
In this religion both male and females can become priests, and also are they allowed to marry and have children.
I like Shinto.
Priests are aided by miko, which are younger women during these rituals. Miko wear a white kimono, must be unmarried, and most of the times are the daughters of priests.
Interesting.
Chico Bucken. Imagine this, you're buying a house, 100 square meters, very close to Tokyo, but with the mountainside near, with a renovated kitchen and a big bathroom, and on top of that you get a
Not
nice
this
view.
video, that's boring.
Then they tell you it's
under the
only
weather
a couple
YouTube. This
$100
is
a month.
fascinating me.
This is reality. There is only one downside to it. The house is haunted. The reason the salesman was so enthusiastic was because he hasn't been able to sell it for a long time. The reason that the kitchen is renovated is because that's where a body was found of a guy who committed suicide.
God damn.
Chico Bucken, also known as black properties or psychologically harmful properties, are rising in Japan. There is even a website called Oshimaland.com where you can find the locations of the stigmatized properties. It is believed that the deceased continue living in their house after their passing. This is especially true when it comes to violent or lonely deaths. The left behind spirits will purposefully haunt the living. When it comes to superstition, Japan has always had a handful of it. Ghosts in Japan are intimately intertwined. Nowadays it has influenced its way into Hollywood and the rest of the world. You can visit Japan yourself and still see how interwoven the culture is with its reverence towards the supernatural or unexplainable.
It's just
ranging from whimsy spirit worlds on film to eccentric monsters and ghosts. It had, and still has, a huge impact on Japan's art and culture. The art is inherently haunted. No matter what future technology emerges, or how advanced the society gets, these ghosts will always be lurking somewhere, in a dark corner.
Well then.
If you enjoyed this
we definitely enjoyed that documentary. That was some information I never heard before. Check out Glymp, Glymp. We're gonna check out Oshimaland. God damn. Buddhist Wendigos. Till next time, your boy Tony Vogue. Pop.